What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs podcast. Back in studio, a different look. We moved locations. We just up and moved.
We pretty much did.
Yeah. We promised you guys a revamped studio, and it was a completely revamped location. We're back in. we just bounced. It might not look different to you. You know, that's Hollywood magic, but I'm telling you, everything I'm looking at, way different. But we're excited to be back in the studio, all of us. We were just talking. I don't think all three of us have been in the studio together in over a month. It's just been a while. With studio renovations / moving / having babies,
sicknesses.
It's just been it's been kind of a busy last couple of months. Yes. But we're excited to be back in here at least 2 weeks in a row because we're going to be here next week also.
Yes.
So we're starting a new streak. You know,
there we go.
You can't get to 2 weeks in a row without being at one.
That's right.
So here we are. We appreciate you guys being here with us. We got a fun episode lined up for you guys today, talking all things draft in the Browns roster as we head into draft week. Before we do, though, remember, if you want to get your intros, thoughts, voicemails on the show, head to thedawgspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out. You don't want to miss us being live Thursday next week. We will be live at 7:30 p.m. for the draft. We're going to be live all around 1, unless something crazy happens and it's like 1 in the morning, but I don't think it'll take that long because it's only one round. So we're going to be here for all around 1. Kenny Mack will be in studio with us. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you guys have the notification bell tapped so you don't miss the notification, obviously, about us being live at 7:30. This is your reminder. We'll keep reminding you until then. But you don't want to miss it. It's draft night's always a fun time for us. This will be our, 5th year?
Yeah.
5th year doing the draft. It's exhausting.
It's a long night.
Here we go.
It's like a 4-hour live stream. You've never done a 4-hour live stream.
Like, I'm not trying to sound like a big old vagine, but when you don't ever think about it, it gives you new respect to people who go live on TV for hours on end. It's like you have to constantly be figuring out things to say because we can't just sit here like.
Well, and the people on TV have they're getting fed information too,
and we're just looking at it. We're just winging it.
Yeah.
Imagine just driving a car for 4 hours and then just talking to yourself the whole time. That's pretty much what it's like. You can't leave the chair.
Yeah,
your left thigh falls asleip. It's rough out here.
I get out of here and I go home like, oh man, I'm a pussy. But it's gonna be a fun time though. So make sure you guys are here again, 7:30 p.m. next Thursday night for the draft. I gotta pick up my train of thought again. Okay. Find us on all the social medias. Search at the Dawgs Podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google if you prefer to just listen to the show. And if you want more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dawg Pack member on the Patreon page. I'm sure the Discord is going to be going off all draft night. It's going to be a great time in there. So if you want some fun people to hang out with for the Browns draft, aside from being here with us live, jump into jointhedawgs.com, become the Dawg Pack member. Why am I getting thumbs up?
I don't know, man. It shouldn't be doing it on this program.
So that's weird. But you don't want to miss that. You also get to play fantasy football with us once that rolls around. Like I said, access to the private Discord. It's just a great time for everybody involved. So you want some extra content, you want to help support the show, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dawg Pack member. So we dive into this episode. I think the first thing we wanted to get into today is Travis Hunter's comments. Bleacher Report reported it first, I believe. It was basically he said no teams have told him they have any problems with him playing both sides of the ball, but basically if he didn't get to play both sides, he would just quit. What do you got? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll take it.
Yeah, hey, go ahead.
So I think this is probably just a lot of smoke from him. I think he puts value on what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. I think if he comes to Cleveland at 2, he has to be at least primarily a wide receiver, offensive weapon, because I don't know if you guys looked, but we don't have a lot of those things, offensive weapons. And then we've all kind of talked about it. I guess if you use him sparingly, key third downs, maybe, just give him a little, if he's a rotational guy, if somebody has to come in, I'm okay with him doing stuff on defense. I just don't want him trying to play 100% of the snaps on both sides of the ball. I don't want this guy to be out of the league in 2 years or injured week 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's a reason nobody does this. Nobody plays both sides of the ball like on a full-time basis in the NFL. It's just very difficult. And what a lot of people are pointing out is it's not even just the rigor of the game. It's the rigor of the preparation throughout the week. I mean, there's really not enough time throughout the week to fully prepare, watch all the tape to gear up for your matchup on offense and your matchup on defense. But for a guy like Travis Hunter, I kind of feel like these comments are getting blown a little out of proportion because he's been playing both sides at an elite level his whole life. So he's 21 years old. He's, you know how it is when you're young. You think you're invincible. He truly believes that he can go to the NFL and do this at an elite level on both sides of the ball. Now, when he gets there, he'll probably learn a little bit different, but it doesn't mean he can't still contribute on both. Right.
Yeah, my thing too is he's a better wide receiver than he is a corner. And we don't necessarily know how. I mean, did he defend any NFL wide receivers at Jackson State or Colorado?
I don't know off the top of my head.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I mean, if we're thinking about, like, I don't remember any high profile matchups of him like locking down.
He's gone against Tet.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I guess I'd have to go look and see how he did there. Yeah. I'm not saying he's bad, obviously. He's obviously great. It's kind of at the point now where I'm hoping that's who we pick. But you're not going to play both sides of the ball 100% of the time. The wide receivers in the NFL, turns out it's not just physical skill to cover Justin Jefferson and Jamar. It's hours and hours of film study, learning, the slightest little things in their tendencies that are going to allow you to stay in front of them and cover them. So I don't see any world in which he can do it, at least not at a crazy high level. I mean, he's not the first. I was talking about this in the Discord. He's not the first freak athlete to come into the NFL.
Right.
The league is literally full of them. If it was, trust me, coaches and owners would be pushing for people to play both ways if they could do it at a high level. You know what I mean?
True.
You could be paying one player one salary for getting two positions out of them, but it's just not feasible. You're not going to be able to do it for a 17, 18 game regular season plus hopefully the playoffs. He eats and breathes football, and I get that. But again, it's about to turn into a job. It's a lot different than it has been for him in his entire career. And at this point, especially where he's played in terms of Jackson State and Colorado, almost every single game, he's been the best player on every single football field he's ever stepped on. He's about to step on football fields now where the playing field is a lot more even. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's going to take even more mental preparation and more hard work. I don't see a world in which he can do it, to be honest.
Not like 100 snaps, 110 snaps a game.
If we have some things for him, and we sprinkle him in there sometime. Hey, it's a big fourth and goal. Let's throw him in there or something, and we have some defensive packages, and he gets to spend a little bit of his practice time throughout the week preparing for that. That's fine, but he's not going to be able to play both sides the entire game. It's just not going to happen.
No, and I mean, if we're taking a guy like at number 2, I want him to be the absolute best he can be at something, not just pretty good at 2 things. If you're going to be a wide receiver, go be the best damn wide receiver on this team, because yeah, he can be.
Yes.
I mean, the tape is insane.
Yeah.
He's got such good ball skills.
It's crazy.
He's like his fast twitch
and
his change of direction and his body control. Like
and like Justin said or maybe it was last week, but I mean, he had like 96 receptions, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, and that's playing both ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was like one of the nation leaders in all the receiving categories. And then he went and played defense and did everything on defense at a high level.
And not like, oh, hey, I'm going to come in here for a snap. I'm talking both sides of the ball every play for the most part. I'm sure he's getting a blow here and there, but like, this dude is going out there and giving 110
and that's
every
why
play.
When people will kind of dog on, his route running's not the most refined or whatever, it's like,
do we not think that they can teach that at an NFL level?
He's going to continue to get better.
Yes.
If he actually
crazy
focuses.
To me. Well, then, like, if you can't do that, then, like, coach a kid up might not be the coach, Like, it's just, I don't know. That's where I stand with it.
But so I think the general consensus is that it's going to be Travis Hunter. I think like that's the way it's going. How do you guys feel? Should it be quarterback? Should it be Travis Hunter? Or the other name that people are still throwing out there a ton, which I feel like we've been anti on this guy a lot, is Abdul Carter. Where do we stand at pick 2? Are you guys all in on the Travis Hunter train? Do you still want him to entertain Shedeur? Abdul Carter, what is it?
Like the fan part of me is going, Jesus, we need a quarterback. You know what I mean? The the guy that's watched some tape on a bunch of different guys now, I think you just kind of fall in love with Travis Hunter's film. Like the Colorado State, the game-winning play, like we've talked about it a couple times. Like the dude is literally trucking him out of the end zone and he still just brings it in. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. I would say if I had to pick right now, I would say Travis Hunter. Then you go, I guess I just don't see us taking quarterback at this point. I think Jimmy kind of blew it. You know what I mean? Like when he went out there and he's like, well, we don't really need to take a guy this year. If we could go down.
We're not going to force a quarterback.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that was him on accident spilling the beans on what we're doing.
A little bit for sure. When it comes to Abdul Carter though, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm like completely out on him. I think that there have been, first of all, we don't need a defensive player. We've talked about this over and over and over. But I think the red flags that have popped up on him throughout this pre-draft process, there are so many good high-level edge rushers in this draft. I wouldn't take him at 2. I would just if you're dead set on an edge rusher, I would trade back and take Michael Williams or one of these guys, Mike Green, or some of these other edge rushers. I don't know, man. The guy hasn't worked out for anybody. He's dealing with these injuries still lingering from the season, and then he comes out and says that he won't even meet with teams outside of the top 4.
I saw that.
And I posted on social media. I said, well, what if somebody outside the top 4 wants to trade up to get you in the top 4? Like, I don't know. I feel like he's got a little bit of entitlement to where he's supposed to go. I mean, there's been the reports that, at the combine that his work ethic may not be the greatest and all that stuff. I don't know.
I feel like they do that every year though with guys. Like it's just a big like, hey, let's see how bad we can destroy this stock so that we can go get a guy like that. You know what I mean? I think you see a lot of that with NFL teams and front offices and the media kind of, I think they try to set an agenda and now I agree with you. My thing with it is I think he's fun to watch, but why are we taking a defensive player? We were just literally joking around. We were like, what's that? Does that bring the meter up at all for us? I don't think it does. I think it goes, oh, hey, we might win 2-3 games. Maybe we go to 4 because the offense right now looks worse on paper to me. Instead of not scoring 20 points, we're going to be talking about, can we score a touchdown?
I don't think people understand. Like, I don't think they've stopped and looked at the holes on. We don't have. I mean, I think I'm warming up to the quarterback room a little bit as it stands. Obviously, there's room to improve. Sure, obviously, but as it stands right now, we don't really have a starting quarterback. We don't have a starting 2 or 3 wide receiver. We don't have a starting running back. We don't have a tight end 2.
Or anything below that. No depth.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Like we're missing 40 to 50% of a starting offense, or at least key contributors on offense, a wide receiver 2 and 3. You can't pick an edge rusher. And I was out on Abdul Carter the minute Penn State lost to Notre Dame, and he had a great game, and they lost. And it's like, it turns out having the quarterback mattered in that game. Yeah. He had a great game and it still led to a big fat L. Like we were joking. We lost games. So instead of losing games 28-14, if we take Carter, we'll lose them 21-14 now. They're still losses.
I think you're giving them a little bit of too much credit at 14 points, man. We fought for that last year.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if we rolled out with what we have on offense right now, first of all, we don't even have enough offensive players to field an 11. That is like has any kind of meaningful playing experience in the NFL. We will finish dead last in everything. It'll be the worst offense maybe that's ever been put on a NFL football field.
We already had one of the worst offenses ever put on a football field.
That's where I'm nervous because I saw that product many a times last year, and heading into this season, I'm not sure we're any better. Honestly, I look at it with Blake saying with holes, I'm like, we're worse than we were last year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We don't have an answer at quarterback that we know of. I mean, maybe we do some things with Flacco and he's able to stay upright. I do think it's a sense of relief when the Flacco thing. You know what I mean? Because I know I was going into it going, maybe we are starting Kenny Pickett. Maybe I'm, teeing up another question, but the Flacco thing, I guess, it's going to make Browns fans excited,
Yeah.
they're going to be back on board.
And so if you're looking at what the Browns have done throughout this whole pre-draft process and free agency and everything up until next week, they've kind of been signing placeholders at positions that I think aren't as big of a priority in the draft. So they signed Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and then they just signed Julian Okwara. So 2 edge rushers that, can kind of fit into a rotational role. They've signed Malik Collins, a defensive tackle. They've signed 2 offensive linemen to kind of back up and solidify some depth there. What have they not signed? Running back, tight end, free safety. And then obviously they brought in Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, but they've spent most of their time with these prospects, with the quarterbacks. They've brought in Quinshon Judkins and Cam Skattebo and Bashaw Tootin, guys that are probably going to be 3rd-round picks. So you can and then they brought in that whole second tier of tight ends, the whole second tier. And then they've met with some of the defensive linemen, obviously, because they will take defensive line. But it's like, I don't think they're going to be taking cornerbacks, linebackers, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on he says, who was it? First 4 picks. Jack says first 4 picks are going on offense. 100%.
They better.
If they're not, I'm going to be.
Are we talking about in the draft or for the Browns?
No, for the Browns.
For the Browns.
I agree.
No, completely agree. I guess we can kind of then talk. So we're all out on Carter, and like you said, it's not even just he's been injured the entire time, and the injury, I think, is a chance it's worse than what they're letting on, because it was supposed to not be like, first it was maybe surgery, then it was, he's not going to need surgery, he'll be able to work out, and it's no, now you can't work out.
Mm-hmm.
So is it lingering? And it's going to be, I don't know, I'm just getting like contract negotiations before, and he's missing part of rookie mini camp because he doesn't sign the deal, and he can't practice anyways because the injury's still lingering. F all that.
He worries me, man. He really does.
That, to me, it's like a walking red flag. To me, there's way more red flags with him than there is like Shedeur.
Oh, absolutely. There's really the only red flags that anybody has with Shedeur, I mean, unless you're going to hate on him for who his dad is, which is stupid. It's just how elite are his abilities as a quarterback. That's really it. But for Carter, one of the things the scouts said was, people said he's kind of high maintenance as a teammate. He's been nothing but high maintenance this whole draft process. Like, he won't work out. He won't do anything. He won't meet with anybody, but he's like, I'm going number 1. I won't meet with anybody outside the top 4. It's like, okay, dude, it's just a headache I don't think we need.
No, I agree. And he's not a scheme fit.
Oh, yeah, you've said that before.
He doesn't fit what we want to do. So I'm completely out on him. So I think we're all thinking it's probably going to be Travis at 2. That then takes us to pick number 33. And this is where a lot of people think the Browns are then going to go get the quarterback, their rookie quarterback this year. Josh, you put something out on social media that had me like, I went from 6 to midnight. Are we allowed to say that on this show? If I'm not taking Shedeur at 2, I'm not taking a quarterback at 30. That's too early for me for any of these other quarterbacks. I'm going, if Ibuka's there, that's who I'm taking.
Sure.
And even if he's not there at 33, if he's still there, if he's there in the 20, I'm figuring out, I'm trading up to get that guy, not a quarterback, because now all of a sudden, and I guess we can kind of talk about the quarterbacks on the roster here. My hot take is, I think if you take Hunter, and if you somehow find a way to snag Ibuka, and then you draft a running back, in the 3rd round, and then you got David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy and Travis Hunter and Emeka Ibuka and one of these running backs, all of a sudden you're putting Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco in a much better position to succeed and to compete and play good football this year. And my hot take is, I think Kevin Stefanski, if you put those kind of weapons out there for him, I think he can milk Kenny Pickett for some stuff. Like, I'm not going to project him to have like a Sam Darnold renaissance, but obviously I clowned Kenny Pickett, and I'm still not going to sit here and say like, I think he can be our franchise guy for the next 10 years. But what I can say is that it's tough to judge anybody who's played in the offense of the Steelers in the last 8 years. Super hard to judge them for anybody. I mean, Najee Harris looked amazing in college and came to the Steelers and was just very like mid. And then as soon as he leaves, he talks about nobody really knew what they were doing on offense in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields is a good example too. I mean, he started a handful of games last year. They benched him.
Yeah.
And then he goes immediately in free agency and gets a starting gig. like a good contract.
Yes.
So
it's just tough between Canada and Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin's, I think, a great coach, but he's not exactly an offensive mind. I mean, nobody's looked good in the Steelers offense in how long?
Do you know what their offense reminded me of? Like watching him is like what our offense looked like with DTR. I felt like they made it just so vanilla and like we're not going to let you make a mistake. You know what I mean? You're not getting thrown over the middle. And I feel like
I think Kenny Pickett has a chance. He's got some mobility. He can I think he can play well in Kevin's system.
From what he's saying, it sounds like it's going to be a competition. It's not going to be, hey, Flacco, you're QB1. It sounds like these guys are all going to be, I mean, he's talking like he's going to be the starter. Who would you
guys roll with it to start the season, Flacco or Pickett?
I mean, without going through camp and kind of getting any sort of reports on these guys, I'd go with Flacco just because I think if you put Kenny Pickett out there week 1 and it doesn't go well right away, the fans are going to revolt immediately because they wanted Flacco last year. So I almost think now if like I said, if Pickett comes out and just straight up beats him in the summer,
right,
that's a whole different story. But I think it's kind of got to be Flacco.
I'm with you on that, but I do think that it could be a competition. And then based on how Flacco looked last year, it was very ups and downs. You know what I mean? And he
was not great last year, and he had plenty of weapons and a good offensive
and that's
coach.
where it goes to your point though with Kevin and even Kenny. Like Kevin's gotten the most out of every single quarterback except for Deshaun. So any quarterback that comes here and says, yeah, I'd like to learn the system. Yeah, I'll listen and play along and do what you ask me to do. They end up having their best season. So I would not be surprised if Kenny Pickett comes out and has the best games of his career because he hasn't had very many good ones at all.
Yeah, here's my thing is I'm rolling with Kenny Pickett unless we get to camp and he's just awful. Okay, like they're just like, oh my God, we cannot put this guy on the field. I'm rolling with him because we know for a fact Joe Flacco is not the future quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Sure,
correct.
And if he's got to play quarterback this year, I don't expect him to play at a high level. He was the guy I didn't really want him back. Now I'm like excited, like maybe we can, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not mad, but if I'm sitting here right now, I'm going with Kenny Pickett because at least like we got to know, can he be a Sam Darnold and turn it around and play well for Kevin and I want to know early, I don't want to see how he does when the season's lost and all our players are checked out and half of our offensive rosters on IR. You know what I mean? Like and Kevin's on the hot seat again. Like let's get him prepared and let's see if what we got, because if Kenny's not it and we know Joe Flacco's not it, then I don't want to say this like before we even get to the draft, it behooves us to just lose a bunch of games this year and be able to try a quarterback again next year. You know what I mean? Because like we said all offseason up until basically a week ago, until you got the quarterback right, it doesn't matter what anything else, what else you do. So you got to find out it's like a Justin Fields, Russell Wilson situation almost. Only Russell's way better than what Joe Flacco is at this point in their careers. Mm-hmm. Like the Steelers should have just stayed with Justin Fields, and then they would have known if they have a starter. Instead, they let him walk, and he goes to the Jets.
Now they've got neither of them,
and now they got no quarterback.
They got Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph.
You know what I mean? So like they played it so stupid. That was so dumb of them to. Like, Russell Wilson is not your future quarterback. And you're not going anywhere with him. So why did you not play Justin Fields and see if he could be the guy for a season?
That's a good point.
So I'm rolling with Kenny Pickett. And I, like somebody in here said, we invested draft capital on him, or it's Kenny. Like, I think he's going to have every opportunity to be the starter.
Go ahead, brother.
He'll have every opportunity to compete for sure.
Yes.
And if he wins it, that's fine. So the numbers I pulled today, though, I mean, when I started pulling these, I was like, man, this just maybe, like you said, maybe Kenny can be that with Kevin, but Joe Flacco in 6 games with Cleveland had 14 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett has 15 in his entire career. So in those games in 2023, Joe Flacco averaged 84.2% more pass yards per game than Kenny Pickett has in his career. He had 300-plus yards in 5 of 6 games. Kenny Pickett averages 190.6 yards per game with the Steelers and the Eagles, and that's fewer than what the Browns averaged last year.
Last year's numbers are so inflated, though.
With
Because
Jameis Winston.
Yes, especially with like the Broncos game.
But Kenny has never thrown more than 7 touchdowns in a season. He's only had one 300-yard game. He's only had one multi-touchdown game in his career. So those kinds of things are like, we struggled to score the ball last year. We struggled to pass. It was tough. So I'm just hoping we don't see more of that if it is Kenny Pickett.
No, I agree. But again, though, Joe Flacco had the chance to play under Kevin with Njoku and Amari Cooper, and Kenny Pickett played with Arthur Smith and Matt Canada. Just awful.
I think it was only Matt Canada. It wasn't Arthur Smith last year?
Okay, so Matt Canada. Just terrible. I mean, just awful.
Oh, it was bad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, I think he was completely set up to fail. And again, I'm not sitting here pounding the drum saying I think Kenny Pickett's going to, be a Pro Bowler this year. But I just think I think you got to find out Joe Flacco isn't going to be here. We're nothing if Joe Flacco has to start for us now or in the future.
What do you guys like? What's your serious expectations for him heading into this year? Because I find it hard to see him getting through a 17 game schedule
and us being relevant 17.
And us being like, let's say the goal is for us to make the playoffs, right, or look like a competent football team again. I'm not saying that I don't think he can do that for a few games. I just don't know if he can be healthy for an entire season.
Well, that was the argument last year when people wanted to re-sign Flacco and make him the starter over Watson and everything. And it was like, guys, he's not the future of the team. He's not going to last a whole season. He can't do what he did in 2023 for a whole season. It was a magical stretch.
He would have thrown for 40 interceptions.
Yes.
If he played a whole season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he turns the ball over like crazy. Kenny's got a much lower turnover rate. So, we kind of started this conversation with the pick at 33.
Yeah.
And as much as we might not think it's the best move, I do think that if I had to bet on what position the Browns use that 33 pick, whether it's moving up, moving back, staying put, I think it will be quarterback. They've spent so much time and resources on these top 4 quarterbacks, and even Tyler Shuck, if you want to throw the 5th one in there, that I think there's enough smoke that that's probably going to be the position they focus on there.
So I wouldn't be upset at 33 if we took a quarterback. I wouldn't, because right now with the other 2 guys, we're not sure if there's an answer there. And we're obviously not going to be sure if there's an answer at 33 if you take a quarterback. I think you have to let the board play out, though, a little bit. Like, if Emeka's sitting there at 33, I would pull the trigger all day. Maybe not on a running back. I love Travion Henderson, and Hampton's kind of in that range a little bit too, but there's so much running back depth. I think you can, like you said, you can get a running back in the 3rd, a legit running back. And then who knows, I don't know if the Browns are going to bring back Nick Chubb or what is even happening with that. But, I think you have to see how the board plays out. I feel like every day it changes. One day Sanders is sliding all the way down, into the late first, and or you hear Jackson Darts jumping up into the top 10. I think if those guys are jumping way, way up like that, there's going to be some skilled guys at 33. Yeah, you're going to have a chance for those guys.
I think that the way the quarterbacks go in the first round is going to really just impact so much of that draft, especially that first, second round, because like you said, if Shador and Jackson Dart are both gone by 10. Like the Giants take Shador at 3 and then Dart goes 9. Yep. All of a sudden, you're going to see teams probably reach a little more. Maybe Tyler Shuck makes it into the back of the first round somehow. I'm just saying, this is kind of the talk that you're hearing from these analysts right now and everything. So now if you're sitting there at 20 and Shador and Dart and Milroe and Shuck, all these guys are still on the board, and maybe the Browns just kind of sit back and let one of those guys fall to them. But it just depends on who they've come out of these workouts with and all their evaluations. If they have somebody that they're like, that's the guy, then I expect them to really be aggressive to go get him. And the situation isn't terrible because you do have Kenny Pickett. You do have Joe Flacco. I mean, between those 2, they could probably handle 2025. If you get Jackson Dart, and it's like, we just want him to sit and learn. We want him to have a Mahomes season where he just does not play. Maybe he plays at the end of the season 1 or 2 games because we're out of playoff contention or something. But
I don't want a rookie. I don't want no rookie quarterback stuff.
The only way I want my rookie quarterback to play this year is if we're at week 10 and the season's already over.
That's what I'm saying. Because I think Mahomes started the very last game of the season for the Chiefs his rookie year. Just get your feet wet, kind of thing.
No, yeah, I agree. I will say this. At 30, I don't want us to pick an offensive player that runs slower than a 4.45. We need so much speed and explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball. Like I've seen, we've brought in some of these running backs, and some of them are bruisers. No, we don't need that. I watched the Foreman plow forward for 2.1 yards per carry last year. Like we need Jahmyr Gibbs. We need explosiveness out of the backfield. We need athleticism. I'm not taking any David Bells who, he just had a bad 40 at the combine. He plays faster. Nope, he doesn't play faster than what he is. He's slow. He's slow. He was a target merchant in college, and that's why he got so many targets. I want fast athleticism at every single pick. And I'm not saying go draft a bunch of Anthony Schwartzes. Go draft high-level fast football players. Yes. Please. Like Andrew Berry talked about it in the offseason, about how maybe their draft strategy has been a little off in terms of overvaluing production and not just taking dudes. Just go get fast dudes, please. Fast, good football players. I don't need we are so slow on offense. I've been saying that for a couple years now. So slow on. There's nobody that just scares you when the ball is in their hands, especially now that Nick Chubb's been hurt for 2 years. Nothing. Who are you afraid of on the Browns offense right now that we can just turn and throw the ball to him and you're going, every time he touches it, he could be gone. The closest thing we have is Jerome Ford. And you got to hope he stumbles into a semi-truck-sized hole. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we need speed. We need athleticism. We need explosiveness. We need guys who you fear when they have the ball in their hands. And so I'm not taking any big bruising running backs. I'm not no. Give me dudes.
So
you need dudes.
Yes. So out on probably Cam Scattaboo, who I think had a 4.6 something at his 40. The only guy that ran a slow 40 at running back that I would be totally in on, and the Browns haven't met with him at all, so they're probably not even interested, would be Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, because that's a dude who's some of the 40 is like, are you a track runner? He's not a track runner at all, but when you watch his tape, that guy can fly down the football field, and he's a hell of a running back. I would love to get him, but
if I'm taking like a Cam, he's going to be my second running back I take in the fourth round.
Yeah.
He's not going to be my early, if I'm pairing him with Travion Henderson, okay, I'd be happy with that. I'm not bringing him in to be my premier back.
And that's where like they met with Bashal Tootin out of Virginia Tech, and he had the fast, a 4.3 something at the combine, fastest running back at the combine, all that stuff. And I like him, but there's stuff about his game that makes me worried he might be Jerome Ford again, where the vision might not be the best. Get him in space, gone. But it's getting him in space that's the problem.
We need to find Jahmyr Gibbs, which is why I'm so high on Travion Henderson.
And the Browns haven't even... Now, there's
the only thing
I wouldn't hate that, bro.
The only thing I can think is they're like, we're not taking a running back at 33, and he's going to be gone before 67.
Well, and I think there's people that think he could go first round.
Henderson?
Mm-hmm.
I watched Joe Klatt had Henderson out besides Genty. It was then Henderson and Judkins. Two of the top three backs were Ohio State running backs.
Yeah. Now, they've met with Judkins. I would take him in a heartbeat.
A heartbeat.
Like, if you're at 67 and he's available in the low 60s still, I'm trading up to get him. Make sure I get him.
Yeah. Joel Klatt was saying if he didn't share carries with Henderson, people would be talking about him like they're talking about the other guys.
He was a 1,000-yard runner.
I'm pretty sure he led the SEC in rushing.
Yeah,
the year before he came to Ohio State.
Ole Miss, he was over 1,000 yards all 3 years in college. Like, he's a stud.
And the thing is, he did it on the football field, and then he tested crazy. I'm okay with guys who you watch perform on the field at a high level and they test crazy. I'm less interested in guys who test awesome, but then where's the production?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I would take. What about drafting alongside? We do need a new one.
You need one. We have a hole there.
Yeah. But yeah, so give me fast guys. And I just think if you're not taking one of the top two quarterbacks, which in my opinion is Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I think there's too many other holes on your offense then to take a project quarterback who is going to sit for probably at least a year, if not 2 years.
So what about the trade up that Field Yates and Mel Kiper did in their mock draft today? You just want to talk about that real quick?
Go ahead.
Did you guys see it?
I saw it a little bit.
So the Browns traded they took Travis Hunter 2, and then they had him going from 33 to 29 with the Commanders, so 4 spots, and they gave 33 and 67 to get up 4 spots to 29 to take Jackson Dart. They got 128 in return. And I kind of went to like some of those, the draft trade value chart things that they use, to kind of put values on the picks and stuff. It was a huge overpay for the Browns to give up that top 3rd round pick to get up 4 spots. And then I even put it in if they did 94, the tail end of the 3rd round. That was still an overpay. Yeah. So I didn't really like that trade unless they're like convinced Jackson Dart is the guy, but they got to have some freaking conviction.
I saw a video, and I don't listen to Cowherd, like his opinion on a ton, but his comp for Jackson Dart was Zach Wilson. He said he's got an arm, but all of his best games were against their worst teams that they played. It was like Furman and 2 other podunk colleges. And he's a guy who was seen as, at the end of the college football season, everybody said Jackson Dart is a 3rd or 4th round quarterback. And then 2 months later, through the draft process, which is just watching guys work.
We don't have a quarterback. Yeah, that's what that is.
It's all of a sudden he's potentially a top 15 pick. He was like, this just has Zach Wilson written all over it. And he's not a quarterback evaluator, obviously, but like I can see where he's coming from. And that's the way I feel about basically everybody except for Cam Ward-Shedeur. Their guys at the end of the college football season, everybody in the country was like, Jalen Milroe freaking sucks. And all of a sudden, 2 months later, we were talking about how he could be like just this next great NFL quarterback. It's like, what? We've actually watched him play football. We've actually watched him play football. He sucks. You know what I mean? And if the Browns end up taking him, then I hope I'm wrong and I'll root for him. But in like the Lamar comparisons to me are not even close.
Well, if anybody compares him to Lamar, they're not watching any tape on him at all.
I liked your comp. You remember what your comp was for Jalen Milroe?
What did I tell you?
You said he's Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Hurts, you mean?
Oh, I thought you said, hey, Jalen is Jalen. He's his own dude.
I didn't say he was. I said the way.
Not in a bad way, or like.
It was more like the way the traits that he has and his just freaking sheer determination that he's going to be great. Like, that's what Jalen Hurts had.
Yeah.
And because if you remember when Jalen Hurts first came out, though, he didn't look that great when he was behind Carson Wentz. But
I just like if to me, if you got Jalen Milroe even with the 2nd pick in the 3rd round, okay, then I'm okay with that. I'm not taking him at 33. I'm definitely not taking him in the 1st round.
He got invited to the draft.
Yeah.
So they think he's either going first or
early 2nd.
And I've been listening to people, and they say they don't invite players. They're not looking for people to be sitting in the green room on day 2. They're only inviting people that they're pretty confident are going. So they must know something.
Well, they don't want the guy sliding. You know what I mean? It just looks bad.
Mm-hmm. We watched him play so much football, and it was mid at best.
I hear that Lamar comp too, and I always kind of laugh because I'm like, man, Lamar Jackson was fun at Louisville. He was fun to watch. Won a Heisman. Did things nobody else has done.
I said they're not the same. Lamar played at a basketball school and carried them to wins and won a Heisman. Jalen Milroe played at the premier college football program in the last 10 to 15 years in college football and didn't make the 12-team playoff.
I think that Jalen Milroe takes a lot of heat that we're not giving enough credit to the fact that they lost Nick Saban and their offensive coordinator.
He played under Saban.
And he played much better.
He played okay. He did not play premier college football, though.
I'm just saying he played well enough that
he played okay.
Projected 1st round.
No, he wasn't 2 months ago when we were actually caring about football games, not underwear Olympics and how high he could jump. It's just wild to me. Like, how many times do we have to do this? How many times do we have to do this? Talk ourselves into guys being good. It's just we watched him at the Senior Bowl not be able to hit fucking water from a boat, but then he got a little bit better before his pro days. Look how good at hard of a worker he is. If he's such a fucking hard worker, didn't he work on it while he was playing football games in college? He couldn't make a 12-team playoff at Alabama. I could fucking play quarterback at Alabama and make a 12-team playoff. You're Alabama. They're just looking for a reason to put you in. Like, come on. I'm just, no way. No way. If you get him at pick 97, cool. If you take him at pick 33 and Buka or any of these other dudes are on the board, I'm going to be freaking livid. And then hopefully in 2 years I'm wrong and you guys can all clip this, but 3 months ago we all thought he was ass, and now all of a sudden we're talking about how awesome he is. And he hasn't played any more football games since then. Wild.
He would definitely be a project. I definitely would not want him starting week 1.
An extensive project. Extensive.
I do like that he's working out with Palmer. I think that's kind of
like,
oh.
Here for
Well,
the
He's probably going to get drafted by the Steelers.
This one's not going any further.
For 20 years with him. All right. Yep. Next topic.
Well, that pretty much is all of our topics, unless you guys have more you want to get into.
Hold on. Let me take a peek.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that.
Aaron, I haven't seen you in a while, man. How you doing?
Yeah. So it's
What's the chat want us to talk about here? We got a few minutes before we.
How about Will Howard?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. We were going to
there
talk
we go,
about
Will
Will
Howard.
Howard.
So everybody, at least every Ohio State fan who's also a Browns fan, wants the Browns to draft Will Howard. Where do you guys stand on them taking him?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. If it's at 33, I'm the same thing. I'm like,
No, it can't be
crap,
at 33,
crap.
can it?
Don't do it. Don't panic. I will say, watching him on Gruden's QB camp and everything, that was fun. That was fun. I thought he did a lot of good stuff there. Like, as far as like showing his knowledge of the game and just, Gruden's no joke. You know what I mean? He's an intense dude. He's not joking around with you. He wants you to do shit right every time. It's
I
crazy.
love watching
I do
his
too,
stuff.
bro. It's fun. It's cool. And it's cool to see a coach and like a quarterback interacting like that. And like him teaching his, I guess, bread and butter and all that. But I guess it depends on how long he's available for. Like because I have a feeling quarterbacks are just going off the board again. I think it's going to be the same thing. I know they're like, hey, there's 4 teams out there that need quarterbacks. I see quarterbacks. It's just going to be another thing where they're just off the board. Would I be excited about having Will Howard in a Browns uniform? Yeah, I think I'd be excited about that. I think that, especially when we're like, hey, we have Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Yeah, a different arm. Yeah, I'd be okay with that, bro. Just as long as the spot's right.
People want to talk about like a fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense. He's kind of like the prototypical athletic, can move well, can throw the ball where he wants. Like, I don't know where I would take him. I think if he didn't have the run in the college football playoff, we'd be talking about him as like a 5th rounder. Yeah. But then it's like Ohio State said, oh yeah, we paid a lot of money for this guy to come here and play. We should maybe just let him run all the plays. Like, maybe we should hand him the keys to the car. And then against the gauntlet, the toughest stretch of games anybody's ever had to play to win a college football national championship. And he went crazy. Yeah. He was awesome. Made one of the biggest throws ever, to seal the game against Notre Dame. So I'd be cool if they took him. Again, I'm probably not taking him at 33, but as compared to like some, like, not to get it on a rant again, he's better than Jalen Milroe. He's better. He was better literally his entire career. So bigger, so he can run. I like taking him, but again, not at 33. Take him in the 3rd round. Take him at 97 because we got to take our running back at 67.
It's just, one thing for sure, the Browns have not shown any interest in Will Howard whatsoever throughout this process. And we were talking about it in the group text the other day, and I went and kind of looked it up. From what I could find, he has only had pre-draft visits with the Saints and the Steelers. And the Saints and the Steelers both had like a heavy representation at his pro day. The Saints kind of met with him one-on-one right after the pro day, and the Steelers, I believe, took him out to dinner, from what I remember. I don't really see a whole lot of other, these I follow all these accounts on Twitter that they kind of highlight the prospects and who they're visiting, and they have all these, teams lined up and scheduled. I don't see anything about Will Howard, and just makes me wonder why the NFL is so out on him, especially after the championship run and everything that he did. What is it about him that people are just kind of not? He's high on.
He's literally Josh Allen body wise. Like,
he's big,
like the same size exactly almost. I don't know if he's as good of an athlete as Josh Allen, but he can move. Ohio State didn't even use his legs. Like when he was at Kansas State, he ran a lot. So I don't know. Anybody outside of Cam Ward or Shador, I'm not taking in at 33 or trading up to get them. I'm definitely not. We already talked about 40% of our offense we don't have.
Right.
So there's too many holes. If you're taking Hunter at 2, you got to take hopefully maybe another wide receiver at 33. You got to take a running back then at 67, and then you got to maybe go tight end at 97.
So we're just punting quarterback, potentially. You know what I mean? I think at this point, it sounds like the Browns are doing that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, we might go and I know
you just gave up draft. Like,
I know you think we're going to take one at 33.
I just think that's where all the vibes are. Like everything's pointing
and I
to
agree
that.
because like they visit with all of them.
Yeah.
Extensively.
You know what I mean? But I just feel like, and I used to be on like the draft 2 quarterback train, but there's so many holes and you just gave up draft capital for Kenny Pickett. See what you have, put offense on this field. This season's going to be lost anyways then, because all these guys are projects. You know what I mean? So it's like, maybe you struck gold. Maybe you struck Sam Darnold gold with Pickett if you surround him with Ibuka and Travis Hunter and Quinshon Judkins and you bring in Fannin as tight end too. And then if not, you're right back at the top of the draft again next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you won a lot of games with Kenny Pickett, that means he's probably your quarterback of the future, which again, long shot. But you have to find out because you just gave up a pick for him.
Right.
You just gave up that's what I would do.
And one other thing about Kenny Pickett too, I saw a couple comments on like Facebook and stuff, people saying, well, it was a good move because now they can evaluate him this year and decide if they want to pick up his 5th-year option. The 5th-year option decision has to be made by May 1st this year. So there is no evaluate him first and then pick up the option. And that's not going to happen because it's like $22 million guaranteed in 2026.
It says, E-Unit says, I would prepare for Milroe. Here's the thing. I'll be pissed, but then I'll be excited to hopefully be wrong. And he's a freak athlete. So I will be like, okay, hopefully he's really good.
It's just funny that we had the connections when we first promoted Tommy Rees. Remember, we did an episode like way back in January or whenever it was and said, does that put Milroe on the board for the Browns? And then they go through this whole process with all these quarterbacks and he's still in that group. And I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I really do think that there's a strong chance they're going to be aggressive at the end of that first round, which is going to be exciting next Thursday night to see if they trade up for. I mean, one of these guys, even if Shador slides, maybe they trade up to get him. And all these guys are in play.
No, I agree. It draft night, the fact that pretty much outside of pick 1, and we're like 85% sure now at pick 2, and then after that, nobody knows anything.
It's insane.
And I guess we talked about this when we were texting. It might not be considered a star draft, and this is why I'm kind of anti taking a quarterback at 33 or trading pick 33 to move up to. This isn't a star draft, but everybody's saying this is a start. You should leave this draft with 4 starters. We need that. We need 4 offensive starters out of this draft, so we can't afford to move up to 5 spots and give up our next 3 picks to do it. We just can't do that.
In that Kuiper McShay mock draft where we trade up to Washington, we gave up 33 and 67.
Yeah.
It
was way too much. Way too much.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that was at 67. Then the Commanders took Caleb Johnson.
We could use a Caleb Johnson. We could use a running back.
Kenny says Blake wants to draft Kyle McCord too. If you said we're taking one of these two, Milroe or McCord, I would bury McCord, and I'm taking Milroe 10 times. I want. No.
Okay, there are so many people that are, what about Kyle McCord? And I just keep saying, I watched him at Ohio State last year. I just can't. I don't care what he did at Syracuse.
No,
I just can't do it.
To me, he's a mental midget. Like, he didn't get a guaranteed starting spot at the Ohio State University, and so he went crying. Him and his dad cried to the coach. I'm like, you're in fucking college, buddy. My dad wouldn't even go talk to my high school coach when I was a teenager.
I don't even have a dad, bro.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You mean tell me your dad's going to go talk to your college coach and say, why doesn't Kyle get to be the guaranteed starter? I don't know. Maybe because he was mid as fuck. Like,
that's being nice.
And then he goes to Syracuse and he's kind of talking shit because he's lightening up. Syracuse, which is basically the IVC, which if you're local to here, you know what I mean? Like, it's a small school football conference. Like, I don't care that he was lighting it up at Syracuse.
Didn't he still have one game with like 5 picks or something?
Somebody just said that. You just said that.
Yeah. That's oh my gosh, it was like verbatim what I just said.
I literally watched it come up as you were saying it.
And then he was kind of running his mouth after he outdueled Cam Ward and we lost to Michigan, but I didn't hear him after we won the Natty. Did anybody get Kyle McCord's thoughts on Ohio State winning the national championship?
I did not hear that.
I don't know. Get him put him on the West Coast. I don't even want to hear his name. Like, ugh, I hated watching him play at Ohio State, and then just people being like, especially because Will Howard is better than Kyle McCord at football, in my opinion. It just Ohio State wouldn't let him play. Wouldn't let him be Will Howard until it took a loss to Michigan for them to be like, well, we should probably let this guy play. That's why we got him. And then he goes off against the best teams in the country. So, no, I do not want Kyle McCord.
This is gonna be so fun next week. Oh, this is going to be such a good time.
Yeah, I hope you guys all tune in next week on draft night. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, hopefully nobody like, Mom, I swear I'm not cussing this much all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I just got so fired up.
We're gonna do something silly at 2. I'm just gonna walk out of here and decide I'd rather go see Journey and I hate Journey.
You're just gonna make the trip up.
Well, I'm out of here, guys. I'm gonna go and watch this old band.
But all right, we'll wrap it up. I'm out of things to rant about. And I don't know if you guys could tell, but I'm hungry.
You got so mad your hair started standing up differently.
I know. But all right, we'll go. I was reading the comment. We'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us for a live. We haven't been able to be live from the studio in a while, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We can't wait for next week again, 7:30 p.m. Make sure you guys join us live here on YouTube as we cover the entire first round of the draft. It's going to be a super fun time. We'll have Kenny Mack in studio with us. It's going to be awesome.
Can't wait.
DeAndre Black, shout out, became a YouTube member. I always forget to mention that in the open. If you want to support the show, it's 99 cents a month to become a YouTube member, and you don't even notice your $9 is gone at the end of the year, and it helps put more cool things behind us to make the studio better. So we appreciate the support. Thank you, DeAndre. Anybody, again, just have a YouTube account and become a member. It's 99 cents a month. We really appreciate it. You get the cool emojis in the chat. Again, we appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you guys next week at 7:30, and screw Kyle McCord.